really need to get together and let our voices be heard.
This is Buffalo What's Next. I'm Jay Moran.
I'm Bridget Jaipal Valenza.
And I'm Thomas O'Neill White.
After May 14th, how can we afford not to talk about race?
About education, about segregation, about humanity.
Since the dawn of this nation, racial violence has existed.
The way we have designed our society has a big hand in what occurred in that Tops Market.
The suburban area, everywhere. We must work and teach our children.
We need to make sure that we put more funding in our programs that help prevent gun violence and more money into art.
If we're going to have some real healing, we've got to have space to tell some uncomfortable truth.
Good morning, this is Buffalo What's Next, and I'm Lorenzo Rodriguez, and today we're going to be talking about real estate and neighborhood development, and not just any traditional form of developing a neighborhood and community, but crowdfunding, and we're going to be speaking to two ladies that are doing some phenomenal work, they're ambitious work in the east side of Buffalo. I'm here with Brandy Barrett and Jacasey Benitez. I think I put the flair on there, right, Jacasey?
Yes, you did.
Como Dominicana, I have to throw the Jacasey Benitez.
Ya tú sabes.
Perfecto. We'll get into the whole vaina talk later on, because that's a word I can't wrap my head around. Brandy, Jacasey, you two are the masterminds, the young entrepreneurial minds behind Barrett and Benitez Development. You are doing a very interesting project here that I'd like to hear directly from you all. Explain to me, first off, how your business group came to be.
Yeah, so we started back in 2018, just trying to think about how we can give back to the community. You know, we've seen our community changing, being redeveloped. We saw the medical campus growing and growing and growing, and we saw our neighborhoods getting smaller, smaller, and smaller, and not having the opportunities, not having the say of what is happening in our community as far as a development standpoint. And then critically needing those essential resources to keep communities walkable, to keep communities thriving. I personally saw one of the only pharmacies in the Fruitville neighborhood shut down, you know. So what does that mean to an aging community? You know, people now have to walk further to get prescriptions filled, walk further to attend, you know, great schools with great opportunities and have options, you know. So Jacasey and I came together. We always had the will and passion to serve people and give back. I think we're too much of givers. Sometimes we stretch ourselves. Mm-hmm. But the need, you know, to represent what people thrive on, what our family thrived on to get us here was important to bring back and correlate and use our resources to do that. So.
Now, Brandy, you are born and raised here in Buffalo.
I am.
And not to single you out, Jacasey. You're from the Bronx.
Okay.
Jacasey from the Bronx, but you've been in this area for a while. You met in college.
Yes, we did.
That was at
Damon College.
Damon College.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And friends, partners now, you're tackling the need for mixed use, or actually just resourceful properties out on the east side. You started Barrett and Benitez, and now you're going to be tackling an initiative by the name of Loads of Love.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is?
Yes. So the Loads of Love is a mixed-use complex, as you mentioned. It will be a laundromat, and then it'll have 5 to 6 residential units. And so the idea is that the laundromat will be eco-friendly, which will be, you know, something is an initiative that we figured that is necessary for the community, because usually in these marginalized community, we're like the last ones to always know, you know, what's the best environmental way to kind of really keep our communities thriving. So some of the eco-friendly features will be solar panel. We have the rainwater collection. We're going to also have some features where it's going to be Wi-Fi. There will be a cafe. You know, we envision something very beautiful, a laundromat that you've never seen in Buffalo, just in any area in Buffalo. So, and then we have the 5 to 6 residential units, which we'll talk a little bit more later on about the partnership with Fostering for Greatness. So that whole idea to be able to bring a complex like this in the east side of Buffalo that will just add beautification, restoration, just energize the community. We know that this is so much needed, and we know that this won't be the first project, but this will be many more projects, not only by us, but other developers once they see what's possible in this area.
It's an important project because, as we know, the Tops supermarket where the shooting took place,
Right.
it's a food desert out there.
Right,
that was
right.
the only grocery store in the area. That's why it was targeted. There's a lot of resources and utility services that are not being offered to that part of the community. A laundromat is one of those things.
Right.
If you can't afford to have a washer dryer, you need to go to a laundromat. If there's no laundromat, where do you go? This Loads of Love development is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, Michigan Avenue between Laurel and Riley Streets.
Correct.
And a laundromat, as you mentioned, is a community place because you go there with your loads of
Yes.
of laundry.
Exactly.
And you have to buy some time, bide your time there and kill some time, but also you're having a coffee. That I love that idea.
Yeah.
You gotta keep people entertained while they're waiting for their sheets to dry.
Because at the end of laundry is a chore. Who likes to do chores? Usually you're working the whole week. The laundry is always something that you do either Saturday morning, depending, or Sunday morning, or depending when you do. You want to go to a place where you feel calm. So why not go to a place where you can have a cup of coffee? There's a nice ambiance. It's clean. It's beautiful. Where I come from, laundromats are not the best. They're the kids are running around. They don't know, it's just not the nicest place. On top of the fact that you have to do chores, now you're not in a nice space to do it. So that's why the Wi-Fi and the cafe feature is something that we feel, residents will really enjoy.
We'll get into the details of the laundromat, but the biggest takeaway from here is the thing I saw immediately is the way that you're tackling this. You are not, as I mentioned, not a large development firm. You're two friends that had an idea, a passion, and now are bringing this idea to a necessary part of the region. But you're doing it in a way where you're involving the community. You're allowing the community to have a stake and equity in this project, a project that is going to have a necessary resource in a laundromat, some homes as well. Crowdfunding, is that an accurate way of mentioning it?
Yeah. And even before we, talk about the crowdfunding, I do want to go back to what you mentioned about May 14th, because that tragedy is not far from where the laundromat will be, and the reason why we not only opened up the crowdfunding equity, we opened it up again for people to join in on this process, get investment. Many times we talk about food deserts and having essential services. And yes, some of those things come up. So good job for Tops for having this structure there to serve that need for the community. But we need to push it further. We want the foods that we eat, the foods that we identify, the places that we want to grow with and not for. It's not enough just to put it there and let people be happy. We have to feel empowered to continue to grow beyond expectations. And that's what B&B's mission is, to grow and build beyond expectations. We don't want just to have something to have it. We want to grow beyond it. So having this crowdfunding opportunity, if you will, is not only for bigger investors, it's for people like you, like me, who work hard, who want to see change and want to have a voice and want to say, I want to be a part of this movement and not just be told that this movement is coming to my neighborhood. So the equity that people can buy into is an equity share of B&B. It's not just a project. You grow, we grow, you grow. So it's really like planting that seed, if you will.
And to add to what Brandy is saying, is also a part of financial literacy that, most of our community, we don't know about. And so being able to give them the opportunity to be an investor in this project, well, not the project, the business, but the project also will benefit from any of the funds that we receive. The idea is that you will be just learning about financial literacy through that, and being an example of what you can do if I not only just say, okay, I'm going to support a business coming in, but I'm also going to be a part of that. And so just being an ally. So being an ally with the community, not just putting something in the community, but being an ally with the communities, being very focused on the community's needs in a different way now, from being able to give that financial opportunity to invest. So
the East Side is in need of more things than just dollar stores.
That's
Yes.
right.
It needs businesses. It needs locations that are representative of the community.
That's
and
right.
Opening it up to the community is great. I spoke with Brandy setting this interview up, and I really dig what the mission statement is for you both and this project. And it's one of hopefully many.
Right.
But as far as Loads of Love and your background and the crowdsourcing, and you touched on something, Jack Casey, that you're from a social work background, correct?
yes, I am.
Brandy, you did some finance, some consumer
Banking. Yeah, I was in small business banking, consumer banking for 12 and a half years. And then after that, I was in analytical work, and in a mix of it, I was always in nonprofit, rather if I served on a board or became a staff member. But now I'm exclusively nonprofit now. So yeah, those are our professional superpowers, if you will.
But then you enhance those superpowers with a pivotal program that was offered, the community-based real estate development training program.
Correct. So that started through Empire State Development, and it was facilitated through Eastside Avenues. I received that training, and then most recently, Chikasi and I participated in a Community Preservation Corporation access program, incubator access program, where we received training and experience on more real estate development and what does that look like for BIPOC developers.
Yes.
And getting access to capital to really make those visions and missions move forward. So, we're always challenging ourselves to education, always trying to get that practical understanding on how we can get better, because it's not enough to have 12 and a half years of experience in banking or certificates of social work. We really want to infect ourselves with the practicality and the relatability of community and real estate development. We do not come from lineages of money. That's just not what it is. So for us, we have to make those connections. We have to network, and we have to be a face of the communities that we come from to challenge those developers that do have the resources to make bigger decisions, to make private developments, to partner with us, because we hear the community. We live it, we see it, we do it. Come with us, join us on this trajectory of better development.
And to add to that, the idea that, very simply put, especially with youth, because I work with young people, the idea that it's so much easier and so much, it's easier to grab people and come and say, hey, join us, because they're looking at people that look like them, that speak the way they speak, that I speak Spanish, so speaking to someone in Spanish, I can come across a little, more believable, because honestly, history tells us that a lot of us are feeling very unsafe. We feel vulnerable, and so when we have people that don't look like us to come into communities or share a message, it's kind of like, do I believe them? Do I not? But then when you say, no, listen, I come from the community. Like, I know what you're talking about, so I don't need to use the jargon. I'll let you know what it is, and this is why it's good, and this is why it's bad. And so, I think that that's also an advantage that we have, that we are not only, we come from the communities, we're educating ourselves, and then we're saying, hey, join us and be part of this. And how can we all teach each other and support each other?
It's building
overall.
that trust factor that we really bring to the table. People trust us, the community trusts us, and we're very humbled by that, absolutely, and protective of that as well.
Well, and we need more stories like both of yours, because I know how to operate a radio board, but I don't know the ins and outs of real estate. And I know a lot of people don't either. So seeing members of their own community doing what you're doing and doing meaningful projects, I think goes a long way. Along with that story, that inspirational story, you're also helping folks in the community to be a part of it. Latasha Bullock, correct?
Yes.
She's Last Call Laundry Services. She's going to be a part of the Loads of Love initiative. She's going to be, I guess, managing it.
Yeah, so Latasha Bullock is the owner and operator of Last Call Laundry, and she had humble beginnings. You know, she is still currently operating out of her home
with her children.
With her children, yeah.
It's a family, literally
it's a family affair.
And
It's a family affair, and she's not going to cover off the ball. You know, she's getting contracts with Buffalo Bills and Buff State and great nonprofits, Black-owned nonprofits. So she's really, really doing the work with very minimal resources. So it's those type of people we want to empower and join us on this partnership. So she will be the general operator of the laundromat. We're actually having dinner later together.
Hey.
So, you know, we're really looking forward to growing that partnership even more.
And Jacasey, you mentioned as far as the
residential units.
As far as the residential units,
yes.
Thank you. You're working with Leah Angel Daniels.
Yes.
Correct? From Fostering Greatness?
Yes. So Leah, she's awesome, just like Latasha. I mean, we're just, not to toot our horns, just beautiful, wonderful,
Toot
women.
away, please.
Yeah, women that are just really, just really empowered to do something great. So, Fostering Greatness is a wonderful organization that helps aging youth and young adults from foster care. Foster care is obviously a very tough situation to be in for anyone. And, what happens when you age out? There aren't a lot of resources out there. Unfortunately, the state, the city doesn't provide the resources that is needed for people to thrive after that. And so, with this partnership, we've committed to being able to say, hey, listen, we're going to come together and, the young people that age out, that she calls alumni, which is a beautiful, beautiful name. You're an alumni. You went through that system and now you get to come into these homes and set yourself up. So we're hoping to also provide some workforce development through that process, and then just like a lot of different resources that we're just like excited to brainstorm and see how much more we can do to make sure that anyone that now gets into these residential units are able to thrive and do well and be a working person in the community and just do well for themselves.
So Fostering Greatness will be the master leaseholder of those units, which is very exciting. And we're working with corporations and other private lenders to get grants to really deck those units out. So when those Fostering Greatness alum come in, that's one less barrier they have to worry about. Right. They don't have to think about the sheets, the area rug, the blinds, the this, the that. They're going to come fully ready to take that next step or that next leap in life on whatever that looks like for them.
And they don't have to worry about washer dryers.
And they don't have to worry about washer dryers. There you go.
That's
exactly.
Right. That's right.
Exactly.
We're speaking with Brandy Barrett and Jacasey Benitez of Barrett and Benitez Development, two young ladies that are doing some great things in real estate and urban development. Brandy, you've been around the community now for your whole life. Growing up in the Fruit Belt neighborhood, you look around our region, there's been a lot of changes. Some other areas outside of the east side of Buffalo that you feel are in desperate need of development.
Yeah, Buffalo is a Rust Belt town, and we live closer to other Rust Belt cities. Rochester, Niagara Falls, those places are not too much different than the city of Buffalo. And I want to say Rochester even more because it seems as if the city of Rochester is very similar to just one sector of Buffalo, which is the east side. So continuing for these neighboring cities to see what we're doing and being able to use those resources to duplicate. We want to be an example of what change can look like, of what anti-displacement can look like. We do not want to go into those communities and say, you need to do this. We want to give you a testimonial and be able to work together to maximize the resources, to maximize the history that's coming from those communities. So, yeah. It's a
great model that I hope catches fire. Jacasey, you're in the big city. You're the big behemoth city of New York City. How do you see something similar there? Do you see any
Yeah, definitely. There are some changes that are already happening. I'm from the Bronx and I grew up in the South Bronx. And so, there's a lot of gentrification that's happening all throughout New York City. And, the Bronx is kind of, now it's catching on. So there's still a lot of changes that
Brooklyn
have to happen.
Brooklyn is a completely different place now.
Brooklyn's its own city. Like Brooklyn,
All those hipsters that just took...
Oh, yeah. So definitely. So just recently we got the Children's Museum in the Bronx. I mean, all the other boroughs have had a museum for kids for a while. We just got one, 2-3 months ago, and so definitely the Bronx is an area that needs to change. I know Newark, New Jersey is also an area that and. What we can say about all these areas that the commonality is that is people of color that live there.
That's right.
And that's what happens. We've been marginalized for so many years. So usually, if you can go to every city and where there's a large population of people of color, Hispanic people, Black people, Asian, Asians, you will see that their lack of resources.
There's some form of disinvestment.
Yeah, there's some form of disinvestment. From something simple of like in my area, there isn't. If you go downtown Manhattan, you will see a garbage can in every corner on the blocks. In my area, you don't see a garbage can. So what happens is that there's more garbage. And so everything looks distressed. Everything looks dirty. Everything just, there's no, and then that just adds to how people feel emotionally about the space. And so they, so basically areas like the Bronx, South Bronx, Newark, New Jersey, Reading, PA, which is a little more closer over here, but Reading, PA is also an area. I have family there, and I see the same thing. We were just in Binghamton 2 weeks ago. It's happening in Binghamton. So yeah, and there's a lot of places that need to have some more developments happening to be able to have the community thrive.
And hopefully keeping the identity of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You don't want to have someone else come in and paint up your town the way they want. You want your colors. You want your sazon.
That's right. That's sabe.
Loads of Love is not the I said it's first of many, hopefully. What other projects do you have in mind for your development group?
Yeah, so we really want to focus on home ownership. So one of the second projects we're looking into is Freedom Brownstone. So Loads of Love, we're looking to franchise Loads of Love, but it's really important that we understand this model from a performance and branding standpoint. So we are setting people up for success, general operators up for success as the brand grows. But home ownership. So Freedom Brownstones is one of our second projects where they're going to be townhomes that people can purchase. So we're looking into land and historic buildings that we can do renovations on. I am also the commercial district manager for Broadway Fillmore NHS, and we know Broadway Fillmore area is on an upward boom with development. So we're looking in that area and places where people really want to be and spend their time. So Broadway Fillmore, we're looking at commercial districts like East Ferry, Michigan, Jefferson, those are some of the meccas of BIPOC and people of color areas. So we really want to make home ownership boom and continue to do it on a sustainable way.
Yeah.
As developers, as real estate minds now, I can say that. I give you a blank check to fulfill a dream development project here in Buffalo. What are you tackling?
Loads of Love.
Bigger. I give you a larger.
Bigger.
This is what, 2.1 million? I'm giving you 10, 20 million.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
We have the AKG museum that's getting renovated. That's an essential piece of a community. We have the Bill Stadium. We know how much back and forth there's been on that project. But what, with a blank check, what area, what project needs to be addressed?
I am partial. So there's two places that have a special place in my heart. The first one is the African American Cultural Center on Michigan. It is long overdue with investment. We need to highlight the talent and the theater plays that have come out of that center. It's this very small little center, and they do impactful things to really magnify and put them on a bullhorn and give them a bigger investment and give them the flowers they so deservingly need and deserve is one of them. And then the Central Terminal. That is a place, a very historic gym on the east side. Both of those places are on the east side. So I would really, if I had a blank check, it would definitely go to those two places, really reimagining, reinvesting, giving those people who, kept those places open and restored, the flowers while they can still smell them. And then if I could add one more other thing, working with the NFTA to get public transit to the
say that.
airport.
Yeah, I was just going to say transit. Yep, I was just
public transit is such
Transit,
a huge
yes.
one for East Side. And getting that train to run from downtown Buffalo to the airport would be my third if I had any money left in that check.
Well, it was a blank check. So you took the assignment, you knew the assignment, you took it and ran with it like a true. You're more of a city planner, not just a developer. The transit is in dire need. I came from DC prior to this, and their transit system is top notch. New York could use some help, but it's still great. It's still fantastic. Yes. It still serves the needs of a huge metropolis. So.
Yeah, no, and I was going to say, I'm glad you said it, because I was going to say transit, because I just remember, many moons ago when I lived here in Buffalo and I was in college and waiting for the bus to just go down the street. So just not only the trains, but the buses, there has to be a better way to be able to have residents just to be able to travel around the city.
And Loads of Love will have some sort of travel hub or bus stop, or is there a project to help in the transportation?
So we're working with...
You don't want to be lugging their laundry bags for too long.
We're working with NFTA to make sure there's an established bus stop on that corner. We're also going to have a bike share opportunity. We're looking to have EV electrical plugins. So we really want to make Loads of Love a social enterprise. So people are not just coming to wash their clothes. They can come in, plug in, do homework, have a meeting, charge their car if they need to. We want to be multifaceted. We want to feel like we're just an extension of grandma's house, if you will, because everybody was going to grandma's house to do their laundry at one point or I know I did, I'll bear that cross. It's okay, but we want to feel like home. We want to feel like this is culture, and you can get your needs met in one way or another.
Right.
Well, ladies, like I've said before, not to show any favoritism, I think it's a fantastic project that you're all undertaking. I wish you much continued success and luck. If anyone wants to find out more about Barrett and Benitez Development, what can they do?
They can visit our website at barrettandbenitezdevelopment.com. We're also having a Zoom virtual event June 22nd that people can register onto. Feel free to check us out. We're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We'll probably have a selfie on Instagram of this show. So, please check us out and join us on our journey.
Yes. And I want to add to that, if they're interested in investing, then Common Owner, get all the details about, what it means to learn more about the project. And if they're interested, they can go on and get more information.
Jacasey, Brandy, thank you so much for joining us on Buffalo What's Next. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, this was great.
We'll be back after this on Buffalo What's Next.
This is Buffalo What's Next, where we have conversations with the community about moving forward. To have your voice heard, press the Talk to Us button on the WBFO app, and we'll work to get your questions and comments on the air. Join us on Twitter at WBFO or email us at news@wbfo.org. Together, we'll have the conversations that are needed. This is WBFO, your NPR station.
Today, we are tackling the topic of police mental health. It is May, Mental Health Awareness Month. It's been that way since 1943. And what better time than now to discuss this as we see unfortunate rise in crimes, but also the mental effects that our law enforcement members are undergoing. I'm joined today by Officer Matthew Cross. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing well. Good morning.
Matt is the newly appointed full-time wellness coordinator for Buffalo Police Department. This was earlier this month, correct?
That's correct.
Congratulations first and foremost on the position. To me, it's something that I think you're the first full-time wellness coordinator, correct?
That's correct.
So this is something that I feel like has been a long time coming. Commissioner Gramalia and Byron Brown announced this earlier this month. And how have you been adjusting to the role? How's it been so far the first month?
It's been terrific. We've had a great amount of, one, support, and two, outpouring of contributions as far as wanting to get together and have meetings and discuss how we can make things better. And that's from outside agencies, that's from interdepartmental members, that's from just a multitude of people, and it's so encouraging this early on.
This is something that's been in my mind for some time. I have family ties to law enforcement. People tend to forget. It's kind of, I hate to say it, but it's almost because of some outlier instances, isolated instances outside of Buffalo, and how police and law enforcement have handled certain instances. That's become kind of an easy entry point to kind of ignore or not really look at the law enforcement angle of side of this, of every criminal incident or shooting. There's a physical toll there for the officers. There's a mental toll. You are formerly a part of the peer team at the Buffalo Police Department, so you kind of had direct contact with the individuals that have been around some of these very. I don't want to delve into the details but the effects of it.
They're coined critical incidents. So these are going to be traumatic experiences, both from the officer and whoever was involved, be it a suspect, a victim. This can range anywhere from a traumatic car accident that takes lives to officer-involved shootings. These things are what the public watches on the news as just crime that takes place or something very bad that takes place. And when you are viewing that from an outsider's perspective, you're viewing it as the people involved and their experience with it. But what you tend to overlook is the police officer's experience, because he's living through that with the suspect or the victim, or whatever they're responding to, they take home with them. And the big focus here is going to be how to cope with that and deal with that and make it through a very lengthy, difficult career when you are seeing these repetitively.
It's almost like the other first responders that deal with traumatic instances in their daily lives. You're seeing your partner shot. You're seeing a victim shot and killed, or an accident, and you have to kind of just clean the slate and move on to the next day, because people need to be protected. People need to be criminals need to be taken care of. What is the current procedure when an officer and or surrounding department officers experience one of these critical instances?
From our standpoint, from the peer standpoint, and from a mental health and wellness standpoint, when something were to happen, we try to dispatch to the scene directly and address the people from our end that were involved directly. That includes, one, if they're okay; two, how are they doing mentally? Is there something that they need immediately? Is it something that can be addressed following up in the next few days to the weeks? We are sort of liaisons between the officers involved and kind of administration and the union altogether. So we want to make sure, if it's something that they're going to be taken out of work for, either during an investigation or they're injured, that while they're off on that time, that they are being checked on and that they are okay. If they're not okay, we will provide a referral service to clinicians, and they're all vetted to work specifically with law enforcement. The point of that is being that the clinicians that they're seeing understand and have experience in the field to help them cope and get through these things.
As far as a law enforcement officer dying in the line of duty, is it voluntary for their partner, their fellow officers? Is it up to them to then say, hey, I need to talk to somebody about this, or is there a system in place though after a traumatic event like that?
For someone that's close to the person that's passed, say, voluntary, I guess, is the correct terminology for it, because they don't automatically get pushed to go see a counselor. We can't mandate people to do these things. So what we'll do is we will check on them. We'll see where they're at. If they need additional assistance outside of the scope of our duties, we'll provide that avenue for them. If they are struggling to the point that they need to be relieved of their duties at work, that's something that is discussed with administration. The union's generally involved, and time off is either taken on their own, or if it's an extenuating circumstance that they're related to the case and they're taken off administratively for a certain amount of time. So we do the initial outreach and the follow-ups to make sure that they're going in the right direction.
Once again, I'm speaking with Officer Matthew Cross. He's the Buffalo Police Department's newly appointed wellness coordinator. And before that, as I mentioned, you headed the peer team, which was volunteer members of the police force that tasked themselves with kind of talking to members of the department that experience some sort of mental health condition. With your direct involvement in that, what have you seen to be the biggest hurdles for members of your force to open up or get over some of the I mean, I put it bluntly like that, but to work with the stressors that they have on a daily basis? Because you mentioned it's voluntarily done. Are you finding that some aren't just, you have to really pry it out of them, or?
That's the biggest hurdle, 100%, is we provide these avenues for help, and we're going to continue and push even harder. You can't force anybody to seek the help or to reach out. So the biggest hurdle is, yes, having somebody that is struggling, one, admit that, two, ask for help. Another thing that we really need to work on is, as a peer or somebody that works in the same station house or as a partner sees somebody else struggling, we need to start using all of our people to start reaching out to each other and identifying these people if they don't want to identify themselves. So you may not be struggling, but you know somebody it is. Give us a call and let us reach out to them. It can be anonymously. It can be however we need to approach that, just to check and make sure that we're doing what we can to get them what they need.
And it's unfortunate, but part of the catalyst to the creation of this, that once again, I feel I'm thrilled to hear that we're addressing this, but on the unfortunate side of this is that there's been a tangible rise in police suicide in the area. It's a rising issue, and how are you proactively attacking that?
Whenever we lose a member, the peer team specifically will provide a family advocate, and that gets you through the initial event. We'll be at their house that day to try to fulfill their needs, assist them in any way possible to alleviate the stressors that come with that. That could be with funeral arrangements. That could be anything they need, a ride somewhere.
Right.
We'll stay with them either by phone, nearby, whatever's needed, as long as they'd like us there. As far as proactive goes, especially with this new position being created, is so wonderful because it gives us more of a chance to focus all of my time directly, but also being able to be with the peer team and send them out in different directions and utilize them more. So we want to be checking in on people that are on IOD, that are suspended, that are even possibly getting ready to retire and not sure
right.
what comes after this. Because sometimes when you retire or you're taken out of work, you lose your identity. This has been me for 20 plus years. You know what I'm saying? So who am I moving forward? Is there a plan? Am I just going to go home and sit and then, think bad things happen? So education, training, and a big push to really reach out to as many people as we can and their families, bringing in their families while they're still with us and after, to educate them and to let them know our resources that are available for their families. Because you, as a police officer, you could be struggling, you may not be struggling, but your family at home is there when you get home. And you have been bringing your work home with you for all these years. So maybe they're struggling.
Matt, you have been with Western New York law enforcement for now 15 years. You've been 5 years now with the Buffalo Police Department. Prior to that, 10 years with Erie County's Sheriff's Department. How do you feel that your background will help you in this new role?
Actually, I was fortunate enough to do 12 years with the Erie County Sheriff's Department
Oh, I gotta change my note.
That's
my bad.
okay. I just want to put the years in there.
I appreciate it.
And that speaks volumes over there for where I am today. And I worked for the Erie County Holding Center as a supervisor there for a long time, and met some of the most incredible people you could ever imagine. Their job is so incredibly difficult. As a police officer, if we're dealing with somebody hostile or aggressive, or, we deal with them for that incident, sometimes the arrest, we take them to lockup, and then we don't see them again unless there's a court appearance or we arrest them again or have dealings with them outside of work. When you're inside of a facility like that, like the holding center, you are dealing with people that are sometimes very aggressive, take things personal, act out, whatever. But you're doing that on a 24/7 basis because there's nowhere for them to go until they're sentenced upstate or they're released. So the mental end of that is extremely challenging. And I think by me spending the time that I did there and worked alongside of the people that were there, experiencing the difficulties that can happen there has prepared me for this position tenfold. I mean, prior to working there, I didn't have any experience with law enforcement or anything in those dealings. And it's a very, very difficult environment to be in sometimes. So
there's few off days.
Feels like if you're at work, you're not up. You know what I mean? So
right.
and on
slow days.
Additionally to that, I've been able, when I was there, to as a supervisor be able to deal with the difficult people as well, which has also helped build my experience in patients, mental health issues in general, just training and learning and doing on a daily basis for a very long time has been wonderful.
And for yourself, part of mental well-being is having those conversations with yourself, with others. And as far as your own personal experience, how do you compartmentalize or decompress all the stresses that you see on a daily basis? What advice would you give those that are in the same procedure or same situation?
Well, one thing is to have a good support system at home, family life, and your friends outside of work especially. We spend so much time together at work that they are also our family in a lot of ways. But I would suggest once you're not at work, spend time with your friends and family that have nothing to do with law enforcement whatsoever, and get back to who you were before you became an officer. This allows you to kind of reset your mind and to take the focus off of work all the time. That's huge. Another thing is, if you've been doing this long enough, you have been through some type of critical incident. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So there is zero shame in getting involved in some type of counseling or clinical work, something, even if you don't think you have a problem, something may pop up that you really didn't think you were struggling with, but now you have a chance to deal with it, and it doesn't sit in the backpack and just weigh you down anymore. So obviously physical fitness, working out, eating right, nobody's ever done extremely well mentally by being in a bar 5-6 nights a week. There's so much more life, and I'm not above anybody that I've been there. If you've been in this field, you have probably spent some time doing some not so constructive things, and that's a traditional coping. I mean, that's what was taught many years ago, and it's still used today. Unfortunately, we want to try to steer away from that. We really want to move forward.
It sounds like you definitely are moving the department in that direction, and I applaud you for that. Are you working with any local agencies? You mentioned some clinicians that work directly with affected members of the department. But any agencies, any entities outside of the department that you're working in collaboration with?
Absolutely. Western New York Law Enforcement Helpline is who trains all of our peers directly. They are fantastic. They provide both a law enforcement 24/7 hotline and a family hotline. So when you would call there, they would branch you off to whichever direction you would need.
Do you know that number?
I do. It's 716-858-2677. They are wonderful, and someone will take your call. I can't speak highly enough about the people and relationships I've built through that organization. I'm unfortunately been on the board over there for about 2 years, and the effort that goes into what, and again, volunteers. So nobody's getting paid to sit there and listen to you talk. They want to listen to you speak and tell you what's going on. We also work with Operation Overwatch. They're out in Lockport. They're starting to provide training avenues, and they have a very nice venue out there. Strive to Thrive is now putting on a retreat out at Beaver Hollow, out in Chaffee. It's wonderful, and we are trying to push all of our people, at least in Buffalo so far, and I know the sheriffs use them too, to get out there for a 3-day retreat.
That's awesome.
It's at no cost to our people. There's trainings there. There's a giant lake, beautiful walking trails. It's just fantastic.
Can I go? I'm not law enforcement, but can I sign up?
Well, let me talk to the boss and see if we can work you in there. I'm sure we could.
That's great.
It's just fantastic. And then, like I said, there's agencies coming out of the woodwork from all across the country, and emails full every day. Texts are coming in from all different people, and there has been, when we have major events in the past couple of years, people do reach out, and that is wonderful. It's just, how do we utilize them? And now being able to kind of focus all energies on doing that and seeing what works in other places that we're not utilizing here. What can we use from other places to make things right here? So yes.
What are some of those things that you might have seen or takeaways from other departments or initiatives that you want to implement?
One of the bigger things is health and wellness are huge. So offering meals, providing meals once a week, or allowing a certain amount of healthy meals to be purchased from companies here and there for our officers, so they're not eating whatever is on the road that day. Getting together with some gyms and memberships and allowing either discounted memberships or having classes at the station houses, whatever would bring people in and give them more of an opportunity to just get going, feel better.
Sometimes it's just awareness that there's benefits and resources available, and that's huge. What would you say to those people that are dismissing the plights of law enforcement? How can you help humanize the day-to-day struggle that our law enforcement members are experiencing?
What I would say is the officers that I've worked with, and I know many other agencies, in general, we want to help you. Nobody goes out there looking for a major altercation or any type of anything that's going to not let them go home at night. Nobody wants to take another's life. Nobody goes out looking for that. Officers are put in extraordinary situations daily. And I think if the public started to kind of think about what we've been discussing this morning as how much we deal with as law enforcement officers day in and day out for 20 plus years, the incidents we see over a lifetime are just an incredibly large amount higher than a normal person would ever have to see. And dealing with that on its own is difficult enough, and we're not trying to create any more. Nobody wants to, cause anybody any type of stress or pain in general. We out there doing our jobs. We unfortunately sometimes have to act on certain things we see. I can't and won't speak for any of the things that like you said, isolated incidents that have happened. But I know that that is not the intent of the general police officer. Unfortunately, they're put in very difficult situations, and I know everybody does their best to just keep everybody safe and go home at night.
I don't want to put you in a tough spot as a person of a noted position, but what do our elected officials, what do we have to do to better aid our members of law enforcement to do their jobs properly, to be able to be in a solid mental headspace and operate most efficiently?
I would say funding's always a large one. So, it's instead of taking away from us, better equip us.
That's been one of the big outcries in the last few years with these isolated instances that we've mentioned. Like, that's been a big one. But funding going to wellness initiatives or...
Yeah, I would say absolutely. If a healthier officer is a happier, more efficient officer, that goes without saying. But again, if you have the proper tools to do your job daily, also, there's even less chance for error. There's less chance for questioning what could or couldn't have happened here. A lot of, things have not gotten, easier for police officers. I can tell you that. If anything, they're definitely, it's probably never been as difficult as it is today to do the job to begin with. I don't really want to expel too much on that, but yes, if you can make an officer happier at work, at home, in general in their life, that transfers into just a better career and better interactions with the public, better everything.
It's a general understanding that I think sometimes gets lost, that there are humans behind that badge, and everyone is waiting in their own wars, in their own lives, and you all sometimes see a lot more of those wars. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. I thank you for coming in and talking to us and enlightening us a bit about what you're planning on tackling now in the new title. Congratulations once again, and the best of luck. I mean, it's all in our best interest that you succeed. Matt, is there any other initiatives or any other upcoming events that you would like to put out there for our audience to know about?
We are going to be working on a very nice health fair, wellness fair that will be announced probably fairly soon. A lot of stuff happens in our office, and we're just working with the officers. But what I would like to say is that if you are listening to this and you're a family member, relative, friend, keep an eye on your officers when they come home. Ask them how their day was. Ask them how things are going. Ask them if there's anything they need every now and then. You may be surprised. You may be surprised what you hear sometimes, and that could make or break some people. So just please be vigilant, and also if you're that family member and you need something, please reach out.
That hotline again.
858-2677.
Officer Cross, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for joining us on Buffalo What's Next. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Buffalo What's Next. You're listening to Buffalo Toronto Public Media, WBFO and WBFO, HD1 Buffalo, WOLN Olean, and WUBJ Jamestown, your NPR station.